Welcome to Roseflower Radio, the show that goes behind the scenes of your favorite independent artists and creatives. I'm your co-host, Micah Wilson.
And I'm your co-host, Finlay Matthias. With us today is a 21-year-old artist from Long Island, New York. His EP, Better Late Than Never, came out just last month, and we're here to talk about that and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Teddy Hawley. Woo-hoo!
Hi. What's up?
He's here.
Teddy, what you up to?
Just really getting through final seasons right now, promoting the project. Always working on new stuff though. It's been busy, but it's all good stuff, so I can't complain.
That's sick. Where do you go to school? You're in college, right?
Yeah, I go to Oneonta. It's in upstate New York. It's a SUNY school. Okay. I'm a senior right now, and I'm staying an extra semester because I'm doing an audio minor that I added on kind of.
What does an audio minor consist of?
So at my school, they teach us basically just how to run live sound, how to set that up, but also how to work in the studio setting and how to not destroy a ribbon microphone, if you know.
Yep.
Gotta put all the phantom power right up in that ribbon,
all
bro.
you do is just phantom power straight through it.
Exactly. No, it's just learning a lot of recording techniques, and of course, like we've gotten into Pro Tools a bunch, and as a Logic guy, that was a big jump. But
okay, so
Pro Tools gang.
Nah, bruh. So we have a big debacle every single time on DAWs. We argue about that all the time. So talking about production, one thing I want to mention is like your music is like the thing that you have on every single one of your albums, on your album cover. It says written and produced by Teddy Hawley. The production sounds like it's in like a huge studio. Are you going to a studio to record that like full on, or is it like just like kind of in your bedroom?
So the way I started recording was I'd been writing since like high school. Like halfway through high school, I kind of like jumped on board and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and I had all this time on my hands. I was like, I might as well start recording them. I've been talking about it for years. That was actually part of the reason for the name. And so I started getting into it. I had like oh my God, what's it called? An iRig, because I saw that Steve Lacy had one.
Yeah.
And I was just singing into my MacBook microphone just to get the demos down for a while. And then slowly, I didn't want to put anything out until I thought it was at a quality that I'd be happy with looking back, though. I didn't want it to be good for my first project. I wanted it to be good because I thought it was good.
That's dope.
And so it just kept getting more and more involved. But all of it was in my bedroom or my dorm room or my living room, or the drums were in my friend Dylan's living room because he recorded drums for it. But, you know, it was that. I didn't mix and master it. I think that added a lot of space to it. But in terms of recording and production and arrangement and all that, that was just like in my house or in my dorm for 95% of it.
Damn. Yeah. So, like, where did the project originally come from? You said, like, you'd been meaning to work on it for a while. Was it something that you wrote over an extended period of time, and then you were like, right, finally, we gotta actually put this out? Like, what was the writing process like? Where did it all come from?
So I started off writing in like 10th grade. I got super into John Mayer, actually, and I fell in love with this mix of like the blues guitar stuff that I was really raised on. Like I was always hearing Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff like that around my house. So, and obviously I got deeper into it, into more of like the lesser known guys. And it, you know, so that was a big part of it, but the guitar wasn't necessarily cool for that at that time. So this guy who was able to make these really good listenable pop songs out of it, and I mean listenable in a good way, not in like it's listenable, like really enjoyable pop songs that were super musically intelligent. And I was like, I kind of want to give this a go myself. And I didn't know a whole lot back then, but I was like, I was going to try it. And so I did that, and I started writing. And for years I was just writing to write. And then eventually I was like, I'm going to do an album. And then I was like, no, I'm going to do singles. And then I was going back and forth on that for years until I settled on an EP. So it would be a body of work, but also I could get it out at some point, basically in the not crazy distant future.
So how long into like the writing process did In the Morning like come into like fruition?
Yeah. So, with this project, there wasn't really a writing process. I just chose the best 5 songs of the catalog. And
there you go.
At that point, or not even the best, but the ones that I thought would be a good first step forward. So that song's an interesting case. So I had the chorus from that song, the da-na, bum-ba-na, da-doo-doo-doo-doo, all that, in like lyrics and chords and everything, in a completely different song that I'd written in 10th grade. It was actually one of the first songs I ever wrote, probably one of the first 10. And,
That's cool.
But the verse and the bridge for that song kind of sucked, so I dropped it. It was cool, and I ended up using it for another thing. But together they just kind of clashed. It was weird. So I saved it for years. I kind of forgot about it, and then when it came time to do this whole EP thing, I was looking through all my old ideas, and I found that chorus, and I was like, oh, like I really want to do something with this. And so I tried a bunch of ideas. I was like, maybe it could be a folk thing, maybe it could be a rock thing, maybe it could be like a blues thing. I didn't know. And then I ultimately decided to go with that more soul, neo-soul-ish kind of direction, R&B type thing, because I just thought that was what would fit it best, because it did have the super pop element to it, and I always thought it was cool to take that and put it with those older sounds and kind of get something cool and new out of it. So I ended up finishing the rest of it in like a day, but it was started in 10th grade, probably finished it around then. So like 3 or 4 years later,
Wow.
I finished it in like a day after I had found it, and I sat on it for a while and decided I found the chords for the verse, and then I just wrote the lyrics in one day, and it was just ready to go and ready to start recording, trying out ideas with that.
I know you said that the mixing and mastering was done by someone else, but in like the songwriting, producing area, are you kind of like a one-man band? Do you like have a team that you work with, or just a friend that you work with? Like, where does the like the writing and producing kind of come from?
So the writing and producing for this project in particular was 100% on me. I mean, I would show it to my friends and stuff, and I'd be like, basically, is this bullshit or not?
Yeah.
or is it the real thing? And there were a few times they were like, it's almost there. It's 99% there, but that 1% is making it kind of bullshit right now.
Yeah.
So, there was that. I definitely had, like every artist I think should have, was their friends chiming in, but it was, for the most part, it was just what I liked and what I was digging.
Yeah, I think it's good to have friends, not only like musical friends, but just friends. Yeah, I think it's good to have friends.
Yeah, I think you're right, too.
I agree.
It's good not just to have musical friends, but to have friends who maybe you don't work with them or collaborate with them, but they'll tell you whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really important to have a group of people who you can show things to and be like, is this actually good, or did I spend 5 hours staring at the screen and lose all reference of quality, and now this is just something else?
Yeah.
It's like, I send all of our music videos and all of our edits to our group chat before I send it to anyone else. I'm like, right, guys, I need y'all to just watch this through. It'll take you 3 minutes, but I know there's something I missed, and I need you to find it.
Yeah.
You know, like there's always something, and it's really good. Yeah, I have like a bouncing board to kind of show ideas to and get like real feedback on.
I also know that a lot of rappers too, like in the studio, they always have like one of their friends with them who will just be sitting on their phone in the back, like not saying anything, just chilling on the couch, and then they'll like be like, you should say this instead of that. And like that like game changes or like switches up the rest of the song, because then everyone's like, oh my gosh, like so smart. And then he just goes back to like tweeting or whatever, It's like
oh yeah.
Yeah, or it's just like, so that's the thing too. I have a ton of like homies that I've shared my productions with, and then they're like, oh yeah, not really, or whatever. So question for you is like, I've noticed like you have writing here and then like production as two separate things that were happening during the time frame of making the music, right?
Yeah.
Has there ever been moments or ever been songs even on Better Late Than Never that were kind of like happening at the same time, like you produced it and then wrote along to what you produced? Or was a lot of it kind of, here are these songs that I've written from 10th grade on, I need to produce them, and then you sat down and did the production aspect of it?
So a lot of the songs, a majority of the songs on that project were the latter half of what you said about, here are these songs, how do I want to breathe some life into them instrumentally? But the first song on the project, Skywriters, I actually was producing it as I was writing it, because I had this other song that I thought would make a good opener, but I just couldn't figure out how I wanted to record it, so I just gave up on it, and I was like, I need to start fresh. So I started I wanted something kind of summery because the project can be kind of heavy. So I wanted something kind of light on its feet to kick things off and make it fun so it wasn't a drag the whole time.
Yeah.
And I just found some chords I liked. It was a basic jazz thing for the verses. It was like a 2-5-1. And then I had these other separate sections and I just tried Frankensteining them together and I liked what I had. So I found those chords, but then I had these like the drum beat under it and even like just some synth pad sounds that I liked or guitar tones, and I was producing it as I was writing it. So the instrumental for that song was completely done. Even like the instrumental cuts on the second verse or something like that were all there before I had written a lick of it. I just had the melody of do 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 do. I was like, oh, that's like kind of an earworm. Like I'll keep that, whatever. And it just kind of branched out until it was this finished thing. And I was like, oh, like never written in a way where the production and the writing were building off of each other.
Yeah.
It's usually very like chronological for me. So it was really cool to try it like that.
And I think Skyriders is a freaking amazing song too, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man.
It was you reached out to us, I think, with that little like submission thing, which is so funny because we just found that yesterday.
We forgot about that sheet for a while. We opened it and there's like 100 names.
Submissions of all these people who were like, hey, I'm like this from this. And I was like, oh, I haven't reached out to these people at all.
So anybody who's reached out to us, I'm so sorry. We found the spreadsheet again and it is so full. But
I'll be the first to say they get back to you.
Yeah.
There you go.
We promise we
will.
try.
You keep mentioning all these other songs. How many do you have? Would you say you're like a prolific songwriter where you're constantly writing? Like how many do you have outside of the 5 that you ended up choosing?
I wouldn't say I'm a really crazy prolific writer. I feel like I'm like most writers where I have these excuse me, where I have these like seasons almost of I write a bunch of songs and I'm like, okay, I just got to keep this flow up and then I'm good. It won't end, right? And then ultimately it does for whatever reason. And then it'll be kind of a dry season with that. But then I kind of try to take those creative efforts and put them toward recording those songs that are written or spotting them up or trying to put on a better live show or whatever it might be. So I'm always trying to redirect that energy, but I don't think I'm a crazy prolific songwriter or anything like that. I think it happens when it happens.
Yeah. You mentioned live shows. I know, didn't you just have a release show for Better Late Than Never? It was at Treehouse, New York, I believe, right?
Yeah, so Treehouse, Oneonta has always had this amazing, beautiful music scene that I'm so grateful for because when I came to this school, I got here on business economics and then did my first semester, like I was going to be a social studies teacher. And then I switched to music. But I just lucked out with having a great music scene here. I had no clue.
Fell into a music scene.
Yeah, and then so COVID happened. The scene kind of went under for a little bit, just as you would imagine. And then when it came back, this kid, Justin, opened this place, the Treehouse, and that was like the name of his house venue. And they would do amazing shows there. And there are all these little houses that were around like that. It was last year, but a few of them shut down. So he was the guy who owned the Treehouse. And then there was this place called the Spleen. And the Oneonta music scene has a bunch of cool places. And now my buddy Keith runs the Treehouse. And he does an amazing job at it. He's breathing so much life into the scene every day. It's Keith Bush. He's a great guy and he's a hard worker with this place. And you know, I wanted to be a part of that. I've played a few Treehouse shows before, but I've figured if I'm going to do the release, I want to do it at this place because I felt like I grew the most there as a person, musician, made a lot of good friends. It felt like home, kind of. So me and Keith just worked together to put on like a really fun show for everyone. And I think it turned out as well as I wanted it to in terms of like how into it the crowd was and everything. It was just a really good time.
So like when it comes to live, I feel like your productions are very... It gives me like the same, weirdly, like the same sort of vibe as like, not vibe, but like it reminds me of like Backseat Lovers sort of stuff where like.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, and I take that because it's true. But I was going to say like, I feel like, you know, everyone knows Kill Me Girl and everyone knows some of those songs where it's like, oh yeah, but then you see like that live and it's like a totally different atmosphere, you know? And like you have songs like, I mean, Skyriders that we mentioned and then even some other ones that are just like, super crazy, like high energy and stuff. Like, do you try and capture that when it comes to live shows, or is it like, because I feel like you have a bunch of different instruments and stuff happening. Like, do you have a band with you? Is it just you solo? Like, what's the live Teddy Holly look like?
So the approach with every song is just, I don't know. Like I'm really fortunate. I have an awesome band. My drummer, he's my best friend up at school. He's the man, Dylan Travison. He's going to be doing huge things. The bassist in it is my girlfriend, who's also the singer for Seeing Double. They had that huge song Leah. And then the guitarist right now is my buddy Tyler Tompkins, who's just he's the best musician I've ever met, and he's going to do great things. I'm really excited for all of them, and I'm really fortunate that they agreed to do these songs with me. So I try, in terms of live, like just a live setup, I just want to let them shine as much as possible and put as much of the spotlight on them. So we do a lot of jams, we break it out, we get a lot of audience participation. So a song like Bittersweet or something, when it fades out at the end, maybe I'll sing something and have the crowd sing it back, or we'll find fun stuff to do just to make it more engaging. And I want it to be like more of a party than a show. A lot of it.
Yeah, I think the best shows are the ones where the musician is very clearly having a good time with their band, and it's not even just they're having fun because they're playing in front of people. They're having fun because they would be having the same amount of fun if the crowd wasn't there and it was just the band jamming.
And then also they can bounce off the crowd and get a bunch of energy. Yeah.
Like, well, yeah. Like when you can tell a band is truly friends and they enjoy playing together, and the fact that the crowd isn't there, like the crowd doesn't have to be there for them to put on a good show and have a good time. That's what makes the best live music. Because we've all been to shows where like guitarist walks out and they just stand there and just strum. And then they thank you. And they walk away again.
Yeah.
And even if they're a good vocalist, it wasn't a good show, you know?
Yeah, those are two different things. I agree. I think I was really lucky with that group. It's funny you say that, because I remember having the specific thought. It was never an issue in the practice rooms of, oh, well, it's fine, it'll translate live, because it was translating in the room. So I was really fortunate with that. Like, I never had to worry about that with that group of musicians.
That's super cool. I want to say, like, so a couple of things. I think that living on the East Coast, right? We're here in LA, right?
Yeah.
Which is another poppin' music scene, you could say. And
Of course.
I think New York and LA are two very distinct, like, entertainment, like, places.
Hubs,
Hubs, yeah. And like, there's a lot of people doing a lot of different types of music, and there's a lot of different things. In your mind, I know that you went to. Did you go to school? Did you grow up in New York? Was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Huntington, which is in Long Island. I was on the North Shore. I was in Suffolk County, and it was a really cool place to grow up because I was meeting so many different people from. That town is such a microcosm of the country at large, and just so many different backgrounds. And I was finding cool music because of that, and making really cool friends, and it gave me a really good perspective on things, and I wouldn't have grown up anywhere else. I'm really happy that I grew up there.
That's cool. And then so going into that, I feel like that there's a lot of people that I know, like, that are trying to be producers, songwriters, whatever, fill in the blank, even outside of music, but just like in the entertainment industry. They think, oh, I have to go to New York, LA, Nashville, Atlanta. Like, I have to go to these big places that have like a really crazy scene in order to get heard. And I know that you were growing up in that, so maybe your answer would be a little different. What would your advice be to those people who, like, let's say they're in Kentucky or something, you know, like or Ohio, you know? Like, what are your thoughts on those people? Like, would you tell them, like, in this internet...
Escape.
Yeah, in this internet-dominant age.
Escape if you're in Ohio, bro. Just get the fuck
out of Ohio. But
Poor Ohio, man. Everyone's going after them lately.
Every TikTok comment I open, only in Ohio. Gotta be from Ohio.
Yeah. It's like some hellish, like, landscape in the video, and it's like, only Ohio.
It's true. But yeah, so like, what would you say? Like, do you think you have to go out into those those crazy entertainment places to make a career, or do you think you can do stuff from home now that like everyone does that with COVID and stuff? You know.
So I honestly am not as in that as I don't know how much I came off like I did. I'm not really in a New York scene or anything like that. I'm in the Oneonta scene. and that's about it. But back home, I haven't really played a lot of places in terms of venues or anything like that. I think with that, it wouldn't hurt, I would imagine, to live in LA or New York or Tennessee or somewhere where it's going to be popping. But I don't think you need it necessarily now either, because you can find some random kid in the Midwest who's making crazy beats or has an insane voice or something like that. And the internet will find them and they'll naturally attract their tribe that's really going to rock with them. I feel fortunate to grow up in that time too, because I haven't had to make any big move to New York or Nashville or anything. So I think you can do it wherever you are at this point if you know how to attract an audience.
Yeah, I think Breakins is from Ohio. Isn't Breakins from Cleveland?
Probably.
I think he's from Ohio. I feel like he makes Ohio music, bro. So that being said, then, if you're graduating fairly soon, I know you said you added a semester, but what's your plan? Are you gonna go back home? You're gonna stay where you are? You're gonna look to maybe move somewhere with your band? What are you looking for, like, after college?
I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out a lot because I still have a whole year, but also that's only a year, right? So I'm still figuring out what that's going to be for me. If I'm really wide open still right now, but I have some ideas as to what I'd like to do. I have a lot of little things I'd like to do. I'd like to get more into mixing and mastering as a skill on my own, so that way I could do that for other people. I'd love to do some session guitar work. I'm starting to build up a resume, even just playing on my friend's stuff, and it could be like an art folk project or a hip hop project, and it's all over. So it makes for a good time and keeps it interesting. But I don't 100% know right now.
I think you'd be bullshitting if you said that you did. You know?
Yeah, like I agree with you.
I think that there's a lot of people in life who are like, man, I'm gonna do this, and then like after college, like start this and then build this. It's like you have like your legs could just like fall off tomorrow. Like, you know, like that's a little graphic, but you know what I'm saying? Like you don't know, you know.
You fall off.
Whoa, there they go.
Just like Micah said would happen.
Yeah. he warned me. No, but it's you know, it's just like life is kind of one of those things where you take it day by day, and I think saying I don't know is a great answer too. Like I think a lot of people, like especially like we're at that place now where we're like, okay, it's like low-key time to start to be an adult, you know, and we have to start to figure out like what we're gonna do and what we're gonna put food on the table.
I graduated in 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm terrified. Yeah, I'm out of here in March, and I'm like, the reason I asked that is because I'm not really 100% sure what I'm gonna do. You know, like I know I'm not gonna. The moving part, I know I'm not going anywhere, but it's more like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna? Guess I gotta get a job, start working full-time Roseflower stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta figure something out. Yeah, it's like, it's kind of a weird transition period between like 20 and 24, where like some things you're allowed to still be treated as like a teenager, young adult. Some things you have to be a big boy for, you know? Like, so if you don't know where you're going life-wise, I know you mentioned that you were thinking about another project. Do you have more music lined up, more anything in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of songs written. I'm in a bit of a dry state right now with writing, but I have a bunch to fall back on in terms of recording and how do I want to produce this and that. And I'm really excited for where those are going to go. I have a whole concept for the second thing. I don't want to say too much on it, obviously.
Yeah, we're not trying to
leak.
No,
every lyric
I know.
Leak it.
But I'm just excited to keep doing it. I like it, and that's kind of the approach that I took with the first project. In a lot of ways, the approach is different with the second one, but in a lot of ways, it's the same too. So I don't know. I'm just kind of taking it as it goes right now. Just making what I think is cool, and hopefully other people like it too.
That's dope. And I think that's like when you do stuff like that, like it shows like the independence from that aspect, I think is super dope. Like I really look up to a lot of like independent artists who are very uniquely themselves. And it's weird how I was talking with a friend about this recently, like how like in high school, I remember I was trying to like push out music and stuff, and it was like, yo, like I went to like a not a
Not a music school.
Music school, like a very rigorously academic school. And I remember feeling like an outcast for a lot of that. And I think it's so funny now that, I mean, well, high school has its own social whatever, you know, it's a weird social dynamic. But now I feel like the people who are doing something different and unique and stand out are the people who I like gravitate towards and I look up to, you know? Do you think that in whatever you're going to do, because you're also missing social studies, you're going to be a social studies teacher.
I know I was going to do that like my first semester here.
I didn't know if you were like,
and then he got cool and decided to be a musician, bro.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I will tell you that if, actually weirdly enough, my social studies teacher in high school also was in a jam band and like did it, but he wasn't like, it wasn't like a dying hobby of his. Like he also like did both at the same time. But that's totally besides the point. Don't know
but that's cool.
Yeah, go.
Shout out Micah's teacher.
Shout out Mr. Daly, the man. Well, I guess so more so, let's say this. So like, not specifically New York, but like East Coast versus West Coast, you know? What do you think the differences are like living in those places? Because I feel like
and creating music.
Yeah, because you're our first guest from the East Coast all the way. Actually, well, is Florida considered East Coast? I mean, it is, but it's like
I think that's cheating. I think Florida's South.
Florida's South. Anyways, you're our first. I'm gonna cut that part.
You're going on so many.
I don't even know where I'm going, bro. My high school teacher, Florida. Where am I? Yeah. So like, being from the East Coast and stuff, like, what are some strong suits that you think that place that you're living in like can help with creativity when it comes to music versus being here? I don't know if you've ever been to like LA or something, but like from you, what do you hold as a really high value as opposed to like, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of fumbling.
So I think what Micah is trying to say is when you leave Oneonta, what are you going to miss about the creative scene there? You know, because assumingly you're going to move maybe somewhere bigger or go back home. So what are you going to miss specifically about the Oneonta creative music scene?
It's a very corny answer, but I'm really gonna miss the people more than anything. It's so I sound like a broken record. I just feel so lucky and grateful to be part of a scene with so many talented people who are all doing their own thing. You're never gonna really mix two band sounds up or anything.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing their own thing and they're all super talented and also even somehow they're better people than they are musicians too, and
that's dope.
They're really, really nice people, and that's not a knock on their musicianship. They're all crazy talented, but to be an even nicer person than they are talented is really saying something with this group. It's a lot of people too, and I see that even the freshmen coming in, there's a lot of talented kids in that, and so I know it's going to be left in good hands once I'm gone and once the other kids in my year are gone. So it's really. I'm gonna miss the people.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think that is the advantage to not being in LA, New York, Nashville, is that you can know everyone and know that they're all amazing musicians. There's so many people here, so many people in New York, so many people in Nashville that not only can you like kind of struggle to build a network of musicians that work with you and who you are, but also you don't necessarily know them as people. You know, there's very much more of a transactional relationship.
They're business partners, not your friends.
It's a business relationship when you're like bringing someone in to do something in LA or New York. Whereas I think, in a smaller space, it's more relationship based, more friend based first, I think, a little bit.
Do you think that as is that a big aspect of your creativity? And like your productions and stuff, like, do you have to be friends first? Like, is that like a big aspect for you? Like, I have to be friends with this person and then the music will come out of it?
So for me, most of just how I operate in general really is, and this is music included, but just as a general rule of thumb, I like to spend my time around people that I like to spend my time around.
No way.
And yeah, exactly. I know as stupid and obvious as that sounds, I know how much people can sacrifice that, especially in the music industry or entertainment in general. And so I've tried to keep a really tight circle, and I've done a pretty good job at that. And I'm really happy with the group of friends I can kind of lean back on. I mean, a lot of times, so for instance, with some of the mixes and masters, I didn't know the guys beforehand, but then I ended up developing these friendships because we had this common goal of getting whichever song we were working on to the highest level.
Yeah.
The guys who mixed and mastered it were, I met somebody named Martin Trigani who mixed and mastered In the Morning Bittersweet and Skyriders. And then Nick Samanchek mixed the last two songs. He did Fuck With My Mind and Face to Face. And then Liam Reyes, who goes by Baby Boy Blue is his producer name, he mastered the two songs. And I've developed like a good friendship with all three of them. And in a way that, like, if I have a new thing, I know who I'm going to go to. And it's really nice. And before that, it was a business transaction. And then, you know, the music was able to create that friendship. So I think it can go both ways. I'm really open to working with people, whether I know them or not. And sometimes that's where the coolest friendships can be born out of. So.
Yeah, talking about like working with people, like you said, or I know that you recently had a feature with Xavier Sharp.
Yeah.
Dancing in My Room. What was the process with that? How'd you meet him and how'd that song come out?
So Xavier's one of my best friends up at school. That guy's like a brother to me. I love him. So he and I are in the same year, and we came into the music scene together, and we were two of a few freshmen that the seniors kind of picked as like, these are going to be our guys. We're going to take them under our wing, for when we're gone or whatever. And we just ended up becoming really good friends. We weren't super tight at that time. We weren't as close as we are now, for instance, but we were buddies. And then over COVID, I started sending him my demos for what ended up becoming this EP. And we just got super tight. We were talking, just sending each other music. And then we lived together last year. And then we started a band together that Dylan, the drummer I mentioned before, was actually in, called Donna's Pool Boys, which was like this big indie rock band on campus.
By the way, that's
a banging
an awesome name.
It's a banging name.
I try to stay pretty humble with the music stuff, but like I will take full credit for that name. I'm so proud of that name. I love that name so much. So we were in this band, and we were able to get a bit of a following going at school and everything, like just playing at school shows and the house party. We did a few treehouse shows, right? And he had this one song. We would always bring our originals to the group and then give it like, let everyone do their own thing with it and kind of breathe new life into it for a live show. And he had this song Dancing in My Room. And he was like, yo, I think your voice would sound really cool on the hook for this. Let's try it out. And then we tried it, and it ended up becoming a staple at all the Donna's shows. We would always do Dancing in My Room. And then he sat down to record it because Xavier is in the process right now of doing this. It's not exactly one song a month, but roughly a song a month for the whole year. And at the end of it, he's going to release a whole album of them. And he's a crazy talented guy. You guys should check him out. He's such a good dude, and he makes really good music. And with every song, he's getting better and better too, which is like, I don't even know how he's doing it. He's so good. But yeah, so we just sat down. It was over winter break last year. He's like, yo, could you just record it? So I went into my basement where I recorded all the other stuff. And I just knocked it out in like an hour or two. I wanted to really get it right, and then messed around with it. And then I sent it to him, and he's like, yo, it's good to go. I'm going to send it off for mixing. Is there anything else you want to do? And I was like, wait 1 sec. Give me like an hour. And then I sent him the guitar solo for it over later. And then it ended up making the cut. I was like, if you want it, you can keep it. You don't have to. But
I've had a fair share of those, like just with like random friends. Like we do live streams every Thursday for Roseflower here, and there was some random person who was on it who was submitting his music, whatever. I ended up talking with him later, and he's like, hey, can you show me this song that we were working on? This was outside of the live stream, but he was like, hey, can you react to this like song? I was like, sure, I totally love to. And then he's like, oh, I need like to add this verse part here. If you want to, you could throw something on it, but like no pressure or whatever. And I was like, okay. So then like I did, and then like, I'm not gonna say much about it because it's not out yet, and I don't even think you know that. No, it's not who you think it is. The curveball. Anyways, I know, crazy. But yeah, it's just like one of those things where I love like that kind of like last minute, like, hey, I think you'd sound good on it. Like, why don't you just try something? And then whatever comes from it comes from it. one of my questions that this is a little bit away from music, but I just thought this was funny and I really wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
You know where it is. So we do some notes. We try and make sure we know a little bit about you before we just hop into it. One of the main ones that I had was I look up Teddy Holly. I don't know if you've done this before. I feel like every person is at one point.
Oh, I've definitely put my name.
Looked up your name and then gone
I'm not ashamed to say it. I've probably Googled my name once or twice.
Right. So I go and then I click images and then the first thing that pops up is it's like a holiday specific like Beanie Baby of a teddy bear. It's like a teddy holiday Beanie Baby thing. Were you familiar with this? Is this a big deal in your life?
The Teddy Holiday Beanie Baby?
Yeah, come on. I need to know.
What?
It will be once this is out. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to get Teddy one for Christmas now.
That's
Micah.
Oh my God.
Send him one.
What I'm trying to say is let me know your P.O. box because there's a
there might be a
surprise
Beanie Baby on your way.
Oh my God.
No, I just thought that was funny. I just was like, that
is funny.
Funny little note. And I want to kind of say this is one of my other things I also want to mention too was I know we mentioned that on your album covers you have at the bottom it's written and produced by Teddy Holly, but not only just that, every single album cover also kind of has the same theme where you have the text along on the right side, kind of vertical, and then a little picture of you or a little picture of something, and then and it's kind of different colors, different kind of like, I don't even know what you call that color palette, but like darker. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know but do you know what I'm saying? It's like a cool vibe. It's like autumn.
Oh, thank you, man.
But yeah, so I'm.
Oh, like for the EP, it's like earth tones kind of thing.
Yeah, earth tones. That's what I was thinking.
Darker.
It's just colors, honestly. But
True that.
So like, is there a reason for that? Was that just like you were just like, oh, that looks cool, and then just ended up throwing it, or is like there's like some crazy meaning behind that too?
I was wondering what the hell to do for the cover of this for a very long time. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I had a bunch of ideas because initially it was gonna be the album, so I had different ideas for that, and I was really stumbling for a long time, and then I found what was it? Sorry, I'm like totally drawing a blank right now.
Good.
I was just looking through different album covers and I just pulled inspiration from the ones I was really digging. And I was just able to throw it together. Well, I actually didn't do the editing on it. My girlfriend was actually the one who did the covers and everything. And she did a really good job with it. And she's primarily a musician, so I didn't know she had that like visual art gift as well. But apparently it worked out. I'm really happy with it. And it was just a lot of her sitting there and doing a small edit, and I'd be like, no, it has to be over by 2 millimeters. And she's like, why? And I'm like, trust me.
3 pixels. Whoa! Anyways, we have one more question that we like to ask some people. Some people, just not even podcast related, just randomly in a conversation. But the thing is like, let's say you could flash back into the past, right? Talk to, maybe like Teddy Holly in 10th grade, where he's like starting to figure out like writing songs. And you could kind of sit there and tell yourself something like for 30 seconds or like something real quick before, the time vortex closes and you get sucked back into this reality. Like, what would you end up saying to yourself, like, to like young Teddy Holly trying to figure out what it means to songwrite and what it means to make music?
A really good question.
Why we say it to everyone or some people.
Nice.
You got me on that one.
You can leave the Zoom meeting if you want.
Oh yeah, we got to start it over again. Yeah. What they say? I don't know. I think I'm glad I wrote as many crappy songs as I did to get the ones that I really like, because I think there's a lot of lessons in those too. So I wouldn't have changed anything. I would have dapped them up and left them freaked out because it would have been funny.
That's
I
awesome.
don't think I would have like given any advice. I'm really happy with how things are going with it. And if actually, on a serious note, I could think of something, I would tell myself to have my own back with things a lot earlier on and be my biggest cheerleader for my own stuff and say, well, you like it enough to keep writing it and playing the songs and singing them at the top of your lungs when no one's home. So go start playing them for other people sooner. So I guess that's my serious answer for that.
And then also dap him up.
And then I dap them up and get out and just leave them like, what the hell?
Was that me?
Yeah.
No, I will say you didn't see Logan, the shot. He was fucking dying. When you said that, he had to bury his head in the shelf. He was like hiding. He was dying. I think you broke Logan.
Hey man, just dap up a real one, bro. Only person you know is yourself. What's up? Let's go. Can't trust nobody. Nah, just kidding. But aside from the dappage, I think that
The Dappage.
being able to
That's the second EP name, actually.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, yeah.
But with all that being said, I think that's a cool way to just kind of end this and just kind of say like, like have your own back and like if you like. I think that's a really cool thing that I actually really appreciate and I think resonates with me from what I'm hearing is that you got to be your own supporter first, like, and not to like overthink anything and overanalyze. Like you're making music because it's music and it's fun, and you don't have to sit there and like, oh well, I wonder how this person will like it and this crowd and like all these things. It's just like you're doing something where you're accessing like what I call the creative vault and you get to do whatever. So I think it's a really cool way to phrase that. And again, I think it's a good sentiment to end on. So what do you want to do the thing?
I mean,
I can do the thing.
you want to do the thing?
I'll do the thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just like our closing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Whoa!
a closing thing. Give me all your money.
So normally we go this camera, but instead I'll just go, Teddy, I know we mentioned a lot of names. If you want to go maybe give some apps where people can find people, where people can find yourself. Just like any of the names that we dropped a lot of names, a lot of your friends, a lot of your collaborators. If you want to give maybe one last shout out to your collaborators and let people know where they can find you after this is done.
Yeah, cool. So I want to shout out Martin Tragani for mixing and mastering the first 3 songs, Nick Samanchek for mixing the last 2 songs, Baby Boy Blue for mastering the last 2 songs. I want to thank Dylan Travison for playing the drums on it, and him and a bunch of my other friends just having my back and kind of like telling me to keep going with music even when I was kind of down and out on it. I want to thank Ali Sant. I want to thank Xavier Sharp. I want to thank my family, obviously. They even before they knew I was recording, they were always kind of like very supportive with music in general. And then once I told them like, oh, I'm writing and recording and all that, and I've been doing it for the last year because I didn't want to tell anyone.
You were a closeted artist.
Yeah, for a while
Undercover
I was.
artist, bro.
And then I told them, and they were like, let's get you a table set up so that way you can like record easier and you don't have to like wait till we're not home now. And I don't know. I feel really lucky. I have a really good group around me. So thank you to everyone. I'm sure Keith from Treehouse for getting all those shows going. Justin Evans for getting them going when he wasn't there. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but that's everyone that's coming to mind right now. So thank you to all of them. You could find me on, I'm trying to get on TikTok more, so you can find me there at Teddy Holly. But it's without the E in Teddy and the O in Holly, so it's TDDYHLLY. And then you could find me on Instagram at Teddy_Holly.
Sweet. Also, is Teddy Holly like your original? Is that your name, or is that like an artist name?
Oh, so that's a funny story. So my legal name is Thomas Edward Holly, but my dad, whose real name is Paul, everyone just calls him Tom because like that's his middle name. So, and my grandma, my mom's mom, was like, I'm not going to have 2 Toms. That's going to get confusing. So she took the T from Thomas and the Ed from Edward. And she was like, I'm calling him Ted. Feel free to join me. And everyone just did.
Wow.
That's actually a pretty cool little backstory, little origin story.
Yeah.
For Teddy Holly.
The plot thickens.
There's a lot of Buddy Holly jokes, as you can imagine. A lot of Weezer coming my way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And Micah, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Shoelace Music, SHOOLACE. Music just dropped a song and a music video with Roseflower Records. Pretty dope. That's my self plug. I don't have anyone supporting me, so it's all just a music video. Just kidding. That's totally a joke. I actually am surrounded by a bunch of amazing people. But Finlay, where can everyone find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Finlay Did It, because who did it?
Finlay did it.
I have him trained so well. It's so
Bark,
good.
bark, woof, sniff, snarl.
You can find Roseflower Records on Instagram at Roseflower Records, on TikTok at Roseflower Records, on Twitter at Roseflower Records, and at www.roseflowerrecords.com. Our charity live stream is this Saturday, 12 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are going to be listening to your music. We're going to be playing Mario Kart. We're going to be exclusive Roseflower merch.
Wait, we need a thumbnail.
Yeah, Teddy just made the thumbnail face right there.
The drip.
And so
drip.
much more. We have live music guests. We have special guests from TikTok and Instagram joining us, including our very good friend Elijah from the live streams will be here live singing some music for us instead of just playing it to us through Discord like he normally does. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Roseflower Radio. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Teddy.
Peace. Thanks, guys.
And then we pretend like we hang up the call right now.
Yeah.
And then we go, all right.